come once again to discuss things.
Alex had expressed an interest with doing a video, so I thought it'd be a good chance, and we're only like, call it 40 minutes over, so that's not a big deal. What? These two don't have lives. No. So anyway, is everyone cool if we just go ahead and jump right into it, since we're kind of behind anyway?
Sure.
Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky. Gentlemen, I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is Alexander Stevenson, the superhero enthusiast, Mr. Steve Baxey, and returning to the show yet again is Connor Nielsen. And, Alex, you and I are the only ones with, like, a proper alias. These two are slacking, man. It's not okay.
No, some work needs to be done.
Yep. You guys need YouTube aliases, because otherwise, how will people know who you are if they already know your name? Wait a minute.
Well, that's the thing with me is I suck so hard when it comes to coming up with names.
Me too.
So it's like when we get to the end of these geeky gentlemen, one's the philosopher, one's the madman, one's the politician, and I don't know what I am.
Just say you started reading Foucault and everyone will understand.
Sure. So anyway, we're talking this week about a comic series that came out at the end of 2014 into early 2015. That was a weird crossover that totally works. Of Django. Yeah, of Django from Django Unchained, Quentin Tarantino's film, and Zorro. Someone's phone just buzzed, I believe, so if they can move that away from their microphone. And Zorro, and I've been on a huge Zorro kick lately, so this is just something I wanted to talk about something Zorro, and this seemed like an easy thing to do. And I'm just really excited to get into this, and already it is a better review than all the other reviews of this series on YouTube, because they suck.
I heard you say that on Twitter, and I went looking for some, and I concur.
Oh my god, it was terrible. It's like they didn't even try. They're both like 50. It was god awful. So anyway,
the guy with the security T-shirt.
Yeah, he's like just making shit up. I don't even think he read it.
I kind of get that impression now after having read it. Because he says something about like you don't know what happened to Brunhilde, and yeah, they explain that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really like I think maybe he like skimmed it at best. And then he like says some weird stuff like Vincent Vega is named after Diego de la Vega. I'm like, no, that's not true at all. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get into this. So who here had known that this existed before they were contacted for this review? Let's put it that way.
I did.
I knew it existed.
Okay, so everyone knew it existed. Why didn't you guys go and read it on your own, is my question.
Because I gave up on reading monthly comics.
Yeah, I'm lazy, too.
Oh, well, shame. For shame on both of you.
Part of it, too, is, I'll be blunt, I was not an enormous fan of Django. I liked it. I didn't love it.
That's one of those Tarantino movies that I watched multiple times right away, and I didn't understand why. I really like it.
Oh, man, I love that movie.
It's one of my favorites.
Django Unchained was my very first Quentin Tarantino movie. I watched that on Christmas Day when it came out, and having not seen Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs, and then I later went back and watched a lot of his filmography, and I actually don't really remember it. I remember it being my first Tarantino film, and I also remember, so this is funny. I've never read anything Matt Wagner or whatever it is. I've never.
It's Wagner.
What's that?
It's Wagner.
It's Wagner.
Wagner. Okay, I've never read anything Matt Wagner before. I'm aware of Grendel. I barely remember Django Unchained. So this was kind of like I didn't really understand everything, all the intricacies of what was happening, or all the references, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. What's funny is this is like directly tied into Matt Wagner's Zorro run. because he did that run for Dynamite Comics. I talked about all the volumes of it that came out on my comic review show, if anyone want to go hunt down those episodes. And I really, really enjoyed it. And this is a far off sequel to that. And oddly enough, it's also the very first sequel property that Tarantino's ever done. There's one kind of prequel property where you can play. There's a Reservoir Dogs video game, and you play through the heist in that. But this is the only legit sequel Tarantino's ever done.
Which I think is the immediate draw for this book, is that it's not just Matt Wagner writing Django and Zorro. It's Quentin Tarantino with Matt Wagner writing Zorro and Django. Yeah,
and it's weird because people seem to be giving Tarantino a lot of the credit here, and he definitely helped develop the plot, and you can tell he's writing a lot of Django's dialogue and stuff like that, and they also pulled some scenes from earlier drafts of the script of Django that never made it into the movie and used those in here. Like that scene with Schultz is from the original script and just never made the cut. It really is in a lot of ways a partnership, and that's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I was curious how much Tarantino was involved with it, because I looked up a couple of stories on trying to find out just how involved he was, but I never got a concrete answer.
I watched a Comic-Con panel because I was curious about that too, and a lot of that is he was heavily involved in helping make the plot. Like, he's the one that suggested the villain, and you guys are going to shit at this. That's something somebody actually tried.
I'm not surprised in the least.
Yeah, it's someone legitimately tried to swindle the United States out of Arizona. And that's, they made him more evil for this, but there's a Vincent Price movie about it and everything. It's called The Baron of Arizona, and I was like, holy shit. So yeah, there's a lot of that is going on in it, and so he helped provide a lot of the plot. He's the one that insisted Matt Wagner write his Diego de la Vega, because when Wagner was first approached about it, he immediately assumed it would have to be a legacy Zorro, and Tarantino demanded that it had to be old Diego, which I think works fantastically in this, both in how it parallels Django and how it kind of really does wrap up a lot of what happened in Wagner's Zorro run, because unfortunately that book just didn't sell well enough for him to ever really complete it.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, he got 3 volumes of one thing, and then they had to cancel the series, and they brought it back as Zorro Rides Again, and he got 2 more volumes in, and then it didn't go anywhere. It just couldn't sell enough copies, unfortunately. It got all the Zorro fans, but it didn't get enough of general fans, unfortunately.
Shame, because Wagner's a really good writer, and he doesn't often get credit for that. Sandman Mystery Theater is just as good as Sandman, but no one talks about it.
I've never even heard of it until you were the one talking about it, and now I want to go read some of it. So it's kind of neat to just be able to look at this as kind of it's just a really weird thing that happened. And the other thing that I thought was really cool is Tarantino's, for a lot of years now, said that he only really wants to do 10 films. He might do more of that, but he thinks he's going to stop at 10. But in that panel, they had a Q&A segment, and someone asked him, would you consider moving into comic books for other, to flesh out other characters in these movies you created? And he goes, I never would have considered it before I did this, but it is a real possibility for me now, because, Vincent, not Vincent, the character Vincent, played by, help me out, John Travolta. The character John Travolta is too old to play a young Vincent now, so the only way to really tell that story that was supposed to exist with him is to go ahead and do it in comic book form. So he's considering, he said he was considering doing that and stuff. So maybe after Tarantino finishes film, he's going to move into comics, which would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
And
so there's a lot of stuff with this that I really love. I got really excited for this episode and looked into a lot of the history behind what made this happen, because it is such a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the lengths that he goes to in order to pull off this gigantic charade is absurd.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing that happened, and it's like Batman Beyond. There are a lot of reasons it shouldn't work, but for some reason it does.
It's very at times it gets kind of over the top, but because they've created it in a comic book, they get away with so many things they couldn't have worked with in any other medium. And I'm really excited to hear Tarantino possibly considering coming back to comics.
Yeah, that'd be great. And you know, part of that is Tarantino's style is already very over the top, that it just feels kind of comic book anyway, and it's disappointing that he said he'll never do a comic book movie, because I want that man to direct a question movie. I don't know why that can't be a thing that happens, but the universe needs it.
Yeah, I mean, his style's already exaggerated enough. Like, one of my worries going in and reading this is that you'd get the over-the-top Zorro-ness, but then you might go too far from the Django side, but you go back and watch Django Unchained, and no, that's an over-the-top Zorro-esque kind of movie, so It almost doesn't matter.
Yeah, I actually went and watched it today just because I had the time on my hands, and yeah.
When you go to that final shootout, it's just a cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The crash zooms in that movie are alone really kind of put you in that give off that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So someone else take the reins here for a minute, because I'm afraid I'm just going to run through all my talking points right away.
I just want to start off, because we talked a lot about Tarantino. I do want to mention Matt Wagner for a second, because he's one of my favorite artists. He's one of my favorite writers. I love pretty much everything he's done on Batman. His Sandman Mystery Theater is incredible. Grendel is a masterpiece. And it's odd that a writer like him, who's got such a very classic crime noir kind of feel, could pull off Zorro as well as he does. I've never read his Zorro run, but I've watched your reviews of it, and having read this, it's strange because it feels almost more true to Matt Wagner's style than anything else he's done. It comes to him very naturally, and one of my favorite ways of describing Matt Wagner, I was reading this in a foreword to one of his books, he's got this ability to write very simple stories, where as you're reading them, you don't trust yourself to think that they're just simple, so the ground beneath you kind of shakes as you're trying to understand what's going on. And that's definitely true here, although it's not as subtle. Like, it's very much Matt Wagner's having a ball writing this, and I didn't expect that.
Yeah. And, I guess there are a couple little things here and there that I have problems with the script. I feel like some of the stuff with the Ulrich, the stepson or whatever, the son of the Archduke, I feel like he kind of gets dropped a little bit. Like, there's a plot thread with him that kind of gets dropped, because the first time we see him as a kid, he's feeding a scorpions to an anthill, and then he talks about, skinning a cat alive, and then I don't think they really...
Yeah, they never went anywhere with that.
Yeah, so I was a little disappointed by that, but otherwise, yeah, this is a fairly tightly scripted work, and since he's the one that did, the physical writing thing, I was really impressed with how well everything tied together overall.
Yeah, I agree.
When you asked me to do this, I was a little bit unsure of why you picked me. And then, of course, I was reading this, and I was like, oh, that's why. This is very political.
Yeah.
In the best way possible.
Well, there's one scene when Django, toward the end, where Django goes to free all the engines, and he, holds up that hammer, and it's, kind of a red silhouette-y thing, and it kind of looks like Lenin. Yeah, it kind of looks like Lenin. And, there's that scene where, Diego's talking about what the Archduke's plan is to bring in investors, and Django goes, well, there are silver mines all over Arizona. Why doesn't he just use his own money? He's like, oh, well, like any good capitalist, he'd rather spend someone else's. And I'm like, wow, Alex is going to love this.
Believe it or not, that was exactly the scene that made me think of Alex. I didn't know Alex was going to be here tonight, but I'm like, he should be for that scene alone.
Yep. And like as much as I love Zorro, there's a lot of people have a really hard time with capturing what I feel is a very foundational part of his character. Like the 50 show, as much fun as that is, it just completely misses this, and that is the very revolutionary side of the character. Because I mean, any other superhero, they fight bad guys. They fight, crooks or whatever.
Whatever that means.
Yeah. And Zorro does a little bit of that when needed, but his primary thing when you think of Zorro is you think of him running away from soldiers who are law enforcement, and that's really important to note for that character. So he is very much a symbol of revolution, and so I really get bothered by some Zorro properties not going far enough with that, and this I think this does it the best of anything I've been looking into that I've seen so far. It'd probably be this and then Mask of Zorro, the Banderas film.
I really like that movie. I've never seen the sequel just because I've heard nothing good about it.
It's like the Jedi of a non-existent trilogy. So yeah, take that how you will. It has its moments, but like my problem with that movie is, where I come down with that movie is, it's a day late and $1 short. If that had come out maybe 2 years after Mask of Zorro as opposed to 7 years, and then we got a third movie that was actually good, then everyone would be okay with it. But as is, it's day late and it's not very good on its own. So, anyway, yeah. So like, there's a lot of stuff with Zorro that I don't feel captures the revolutionary side enough, and so I was really pleased to see how well that fit in here. Like when he goes to that camp at night, and like the workers are so discouraged that they just don't give a damn about their lives, to the point where they'll play hot potato with a stick of lit dynamite, and like Django has that line, it's like, who's gonna do anything? Or was it Django, or was it one of the workers that has that line, who's gonna do anything about it? And then the whip takes the dynamite away and it blows up behind him. He's like, workers of the world unite, kind of thing. Yeah. I was like, yes, Alex must love this right now. So yeah, anything else you want to talk about with the politics of it, Alex?
I mean, I need to read it again and really kind of delve deeper into it, but you could maybe kind of draw some sort of parallel with the Archduke of Arizona and him sort of being very symbolic of the whole white colonial project in the Americas, given all of the bizarre lengths that he goes to in order to try and justify, himself, his royalty, and kind of pull off the whole thing. And that's what it all is. It's a giant scam. And so, I don't know, like I said, I need to kind of reread it and kind of look more closely for that. But that was kind of the first thing that I picked up on.
Well, certainly, like, I actually read through it twice now for this, just because I got so fucking into this story. And I think there is a lot of that there, particularly in that last scene he has with Diego as they, sword fight, and he goes, I can't allow you to betray your class and disgrace your class, so you must be punished for it, and for mourning a servant. You must be punished for it. And he's talking about all these platitudes about how, the aristocracy, the nobles, are just naturally better than plebs, he calls them. And that's really fascinating, because Diego just, every chance he gets, throws it in this guy's face. You're not one of us. You married into this. So quit acting like you're as important as you think you are. Your rhetoric is complete horseshit at this point. It doesn't apply to you, even if it were true. And like, he just throws that in his face, and you could tell, like, even when he's acting like, the pomp Diego, waving his hand around at the party when he first gets to the mansion of the Archduke, he throws that in the dude's face, and like in that Bruce Wayne, oh, you like ballet kind of way. And that's really, really funny to just see how he kind of digs in at this guy.
Well, and I loved how, kind of foppish they played Diego. I thought that was kind of fun.
Oh, and that's always there for the character. In the 50s show, like I think it's the 3rd episode or something, Guy Williams Diego walks into his like patio basically, and the Commandante, the big villain of the series at that time, is sitting there with a Zorro costume next to him. He's like, Diego, we need to talk to something. And then it goes to a commercial. And he's like, I've created this perfect recreation of Zorro's outfit to have other people try it on and fence me so I can identify who Zorro is. And like, yeah, it's like, whoa, okay, is this some kind of like, is he being really subterfugey with him? And then Diego's like, oh, I see. And he's like, so what are you here for? Oh, I'm waiting for your father. Well, while we wait for him, maybe I should try. And the dude just laughs in his face. He just can't possibly believe that Diego could ever be Zorro. And so, like, he doesn't even make him put on the costume. He just gives him a sword. And so Guy Williams, like, you know, freaks out that he's getting attacked with a sword. He, like, you know, cowers away from it and everything. And I'm miming this out, and you can't see me, but I am. So, yeah, there's a lot of that all over Diego, all over Zorro, and also in Wagner's run, because there's a scene where he's it's based off of the original story, but he and a military man are both courting the same woman, and him as Diego, and Zorro's involved too, so it's kind of a weird love triangle thing. What love square? I don't know. Does a triangle work if 2 of the people are the same? Never mind. Anyway, like there's a really pissed off sergeant, and like Diego's just messing around with his parasol, and it's kind of like drunken master thing where like the guy's just trying to kill Diego, but he keeps running into his parasol, and Diego's just acting like a complete fop, and he doesn't even realize he's acting like he doesn't even realize he's defending himself by just making the guy attack his parasol. It's hilarious. So yeah, they really do. It carries over perfectly if you've read the rest of Wagner's run on Zorro, which is great about it.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to track that down now, because I just, from the taste of what I've got with Wagner Zorro here, I really want to go in and read the rest of that run. Like, it's just so, it's not only like throwbacky to like Errol Flynn, Tyrone Power kind of style, but it's also got that same kind of Wagner substance where like you get invested in an interesting political situation, but at the same time you're just having so much fun.
Oh, totally.
Like this is one of the most relaxing reads I've had in a very long time.
Yeah, and it's surprising how dense it is, given that, right? Because you just read it and it's kind of fun, but it is actually really, really smart at times.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the political stuff you mentioned, but then also the idea of Zorro as a performance, and kind of the difference between Zorro's adopted and legacies and identity versus Django's just reclamation of his identity based on what happened to that movie. Like, there's really interesting like power relations going on that are fascinating that you could talk about forever. But the book never feels the need to like sit down and exposit that. It just goes. It keeps moving.
Yeah, and like it's great because you have I was actually just looking at that scene with the dynamite, and it's Django's internal monologue, and he says, "But what the hell can one man do to change any of that?" And that's where Zorro shows up. And then at the end, you have Django's like internal monologue as he crashes or blows up the train, and is about to be tortured by Anvil Charlie. And he goes, "Diego de la Vega taught me one thing, and that it's that one man can make a difference and inspire change." And that's when the Indians throw the dynamite at Anvil Charlie, and like it's this. Fucking awesome.
And then suddenly Zorro became more Batman than Batman's been since Grant Morrison.
Yep.
It takes... I was actually really happy to read this because I've been thinking a lot about this whole kick we've been on of like, superheroes are symbols. It's like, yeah, no shit. Can we like take it further than that? And I think this does a good job of sort of doing that, of showing how superheroes can embody kind of a revolutionary spirit, and could potentially be written in such a way as to kind of narratively explain kind of revolutionary leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And also how like it doesn't. It's a very circumstantial thing. Like Django is a slave, and then he doesn't get freed by his own accord. It happens through circumstances he can't control. But so much of what makes the character interesting is what he does with those choices and what he does with the paradigm he lives in. And so the symbol of him being inspirational or revolutionary doesn't just come because the movie keeps telling you, look at how cool this guy is. It comes from him very directly making choices and affirming himself in certain situations. And Zorro doesn't necessarily need that because this isn't his origin. But he's still got the same kind of feel. Like, it always feels like Zorro's always being challenged and he never lets it get to him. And that just makes him so endearing. So it's not a revolutionary spirit that's like thrown in your face. It's this guy is someone I truly enjoy being with, and I wish I could be like him.
And we can't get that with Batman anymore because they've turned him into sort of the Bat God.
Exactly.
And so, this character who, when I was a kid, actually like struggled to fight villains, can take out anybody before they even realize he's in the room.
Yeah, I mean, the very idea of I'm Batman ruins a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, Zorro has a bit of that as well, but it's not as intentionally done because he's kind of stuck at times in the romantic hero who can do no wrong and is never like in true danger kind of thing going for him. Mm-hmm. Depending on what you look at, I kind of feel that way about the Tyrone Power movie. But One thing I find interesting, since we were talking about Django there and how he kind of takes off from Zorro, is Zorro in a lot of ways, or Diego rather, fulfills the role that Schultz did in his life. It's kind of that Nolan Batman having multiple father figures thing going for him.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Because like you have some of the direct parallels where Diego will say a lot of the same things, but if you look at Django's character arc in Unchained, he kind of goes from... This is going to sound racist, but I don't mean for it to. He kind of goes from being a boy, a kid, because like the first time Schultz like allows him to buy his own clothes, he buys something that's just outlandish and ridiculous, and it's the kind of like clothing choice you'd make when you're 13, and it's your first time shopping basically. And then he like slowly develops as more of an independent man throughout that movie. And this is like the next stage of that, because like throughout that movie he becomes the hero that saves the damsel in distress, which ultimately, as noble as it is, it still ends up breaking down as kind of a selfish thing to becoming a selfless hero in this story arc, which I found endlessly fascinating.
That's a good call. I forgot about that whole clothing choice scene at the beginning of Unchained, but you're right, this is a very natural progression of the Django character. And as somebody who's not familiar with Zorro at all, to kind of hear, when I was reading, I was like, it's neat to have this, human person in this role that is very, it is kind of like the whole, a lot of people's idea of Zorro is a lot of people's idea of Superman, is he's the hero who saves the person off of the railroad tracks, the girl off the railroad tracks. I think I took a lot of that for granted when I was reading it. Hearing you guys talking about this is making me appreciate this a lot more. Because I was enjoying this as escapism and really enjoying the escapist thrills, and it did have a political edge to it that I respect it for doing that. And while I was reading it, it was kind of like George Carlin comedy, where oh ha 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 ha, and then the next day like, wait a second, but so I'm seeing more of the layers now, and it is a really, as you said, it's a very intricately plotted story.
Yeah, and it's got a little bit of kind of how to put this. I don't want to say non-linear because there's a couple of flashbacks and stuff, but it's not. It's very cinematic, and Tarantino's involved, so that's very appropriate in the way it cuts between, particularly that last issue, because you have the scene with Diego and the Archduke, and then you've got the scene with Django and Anvil Charlie, and then you've got the fight scene breakout, and just everything keeps cutting in between, and you can almost feel the score going. Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't mention that. I didn't actually do it on any of my read-throughs because I can't listen to a song and try to time out when I'm supposed to switch over. But in the back, and you guys actually have this in your scans, in the back, like the letters page is a track list of things to listen to as you read through the issue.
I actually read it that way, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, man. Like, if I'm going to have to try to talk Milan into doing this whole thing, because if he's the one that doesn't give a fuck about copyright, so if he can fucking get through the whole thing and get all these songs in there,
that would be perfect.
That'd be so
it
much
would
fun.
be. Like, I can't read through it and, like, know when to click the song, because that's just not how I read. I kind of get, too lost in what I'm doing. But I do like to listen to music while I read if I can, but not like this. I need it to be, like, perfectly synced up with my reading speed, and I don't think that's possible.
It's a tough balance, but I think, interestingly, the soundtrack that they pick out for this, all the playlists for all 7 issues, it works really well, and it's got a really good balance of just classic Zorro music as well as the kind of rap songs you got from the Django movie, which you would think wouldn't go well together, but they surprisingly work.
Oh, well, like, what I want is I want Zorro to have a punk rock mariachi theme.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? He's fucking rebel, man. We need that to happen. I tried looking up, I was trying to look up mariachi punk rock, and there is nothing good. It's either too punk rock or 2 white guys trying to do mariachi. It's not happening, man. This is the only reason I like having Connor on, is because he's the only one that laughs at my jokes. Anyway,
it does sound like that would be the case, though.
What do you mean?
It sounds like that, like punk rock mariachi. It would be that it would be either terrible, or like 2 punk rock or 2 mariachi, or just a couple of white guys.
Well, there's a channel I just found recently, and they started up like just a couple months ago. It's a YouTube channel. I think it's called MES, and they're doing mariachi covers of video game music. And so it is actually, there's a couple white guys in it, but it is primarily Hispanic people that play instruments, and it's all synced up, and they're doing like covers of video game tracks. And so I'm really excited to see where that channel goes, and you will eventually hear them on here whenever they do something that's relevant that I can use for intro music and stuff.
Cool.
But if only they did something more, punk rocky, I totally would have used it. But you just, it shouldn't be that hard, because the essence of punk is just play really, really fast, and don't care if you make mistakes along the way. So you should be able to get that, and then it's just making the lyrics work with it, and frankly, it's going to be in Spanish anyway, so what do I care? Oh, speaking of which, does anyone here speak Spanish?
Not really.
Was that a no across the board?
I think so.
Yeah, so there's that one scene where, like, there's little peppered Spanish here and there throughout the book, and you can get through most of it, but there's one big, like, speech that Diego gives that I actually asked Kevin Cruz, Casey Liston, who was on an episode, to translate for me, because he's the only person I know that speaks Spanish on Skype. And so I had him translate that scene where Diego gives that big speech about the Spanish language, and I just figured out how to read that for you guys. It's life, it's love, it's sweet like Alazar, and it's so beautiful like the blush in the cheek of a single lady. It may roar like the waves of the ocean, or it may whisper like the wings of a butterfly. It's like a song, no, a symphony. Ah, such a language must never be silenced. She must walk free like a stallion in the plains. And I was just like, this being the 3rd time I read through that, I was like, God damn, I really want to know what the fuck he is saying, because they don't translate it. It's just like this epic monologue about Spanish.
That's like one of those Idris Elba moments where I need someone to perform that, and it doesn't matter what the context surrounding it is, that speech by itself is just so engrossing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's total pomp Diego, and like all the guys around the dinner table are laughing at him for being so flowery and verbose, but it's just so much fun to watch.
I mean, that's just one of those things I feel like an actor would have a ball with.
Totally.
It's a really Tarantino kind of scene too. Like I could see him filming something like that. He's done it before.
I mean, totally. There's all those scenes in Inglourious Bastards where people talk about languages.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just really, really fascinating. Like, who the fuck thought you would get, like, really, really intense drama scene out of someone talking about the differences of cultures and languages holding up 3 fingers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, that is totally a very Tarantino-inspired moment right there, and it totally fits. And one thing that Tarantino mentioned in the Comic-Con panel was he ran into Jamie Foxx after they'd confirmed that they were doing this comic, and he told him about it, and Fox's reaction was, "Can we just go make this movie now?" So that'll lead me to a question: who should play Diego?
Ooh, that's tough.
That is tough.
Because I don't know.
I wish you asked me this like an hour ago, because then I would have had an answer.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like I just need a minute to research.
I'm sorry, what was that,
How
Alex?
old is Diego supposed to be in this?
Okay, so this is like really, really bad assumption-y kind of stuff, but it'll totally work. So it's the Diego from Wagner's Run. Wagner's Run is based off of Isabella Allande's novel, partly, like, whatever. And in her run, Diego is born in 1790. This takes place after the Civil War? I think just after? So that's 1863? 5? Someone help me? Bad at dates?
Sure.
See, we were talking about how we just know things historically earlier, and I do, but just not dates.
I remember the part that's not numbers.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck.
I got an idea. The guy that's playing Zemo in the new Captain America: Civil War is Spanish. And he would be the perfect age, I think.
Okay.
I think he could do Zorro.
Yeah, Daniel Bru.
Yeah, I think that's his name. He is of Spanish descent. He used to do like flowery roles and stuff. He was in Inglourious Bastards. I think he could do it.
Well,
Okay, so Diego would be roughly 75 in this. So he's a very spry 75.
Mark Margolis? He's in his mid-70s.
I mean, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate to that. Honestly, the only reason this needs to be old Diego is because of, like, one little thing in the Django Unchained movie that doesn't really affect the rest of the film, which is that it's set 2 years before the Civil War.
If that's the case, you could get away with just hiring Antonio Banderas again.
Yeah. I got an idea. Now, if Tarantino makes this a movie, and he likes going back to actors he's already worked with, I'm going to go with Demian Bashir, who played the Mexican Bob in The Hateful Eight.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just something I thought about. It's like, God, I think this could really work it as a movie. It's already so cinematically paced. The only thing you'd really, really need to work with is the second issue with that villain origin, like, plot thing.
Well, this is one of those things where, like, if you adapt it, I would just want you to adapt it as closely as possible, and if that's the case, maybe just make it an animated movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if you want to do this in live action, just do another story. Do like the third story in the Django line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that leads. I think that's I want to talk about the art a little bit. How do you guys feel about the art? Because to me, it's like John Romita Jr. but better. Maybe just the coloring has a similar.
That's weird because I like John Romita Jr. a lot.
No, it's like I don't hate John Romita Jr. I think he has a very unique visual design, and I do defend him more than I don't. But when John Romita Jr. is rushed, you can really tell. But
yeah,
and a lot of his faces tend to look very, very similar. But with this one, it has a very sketchy look to it. A lot of short lines for the line work.
A lot of the faces look a little unfinished to me. Like, it doesn't look like there's enough lines on the faces, so some of the expressions look just a little kind of monotonish.
It could be the inking.
Maybe.
I don't know. There's I like the way. What's this guy's name? It's Esteve Polis or something.
Yeah, Estevez Polis.
Yeah, my bad. And
maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong. I don't know. It's fucking Spanish, who knows?
So,
Esteve Polis. Who knows?
And then, anyways, I think he has a very, inherently very Spanish flavor to his art. And because he's channeling an older style of art, and that's to kind of channel that classic pulp feel. But I really like it. It's really kinetic. I like the way he uses shadows. I just wish it had more backgrounds.
Yeah, that's my big thing.
I wish there was a better. I don't know. I wish there was better detail, greater detail, because he's really good at conveying kinetic energy and really good at making you feel like you're watching something cinematic. But I think he's also a bit of a detriment to the visual experience of this.
I'm trying to remember the name of the show, but there was what series was it where they kind of just photoshopped the backgrounds in, and they kind of look like really... Is it Frisky Dingo that did that?
I would not know.
I have no idea.
There's... What the hell is it? Oh, there it is. Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh.
That doesn't sound like Frisky Dingo at all.
No, it doesn't. Where do you get that from?
Frisky Dingo did... Frisky Dingo did the same thing. Frisky Dingo was an Adult Swim show that did the same thing. To be fair, it was cheap as fuck and had every reason to. They're the same people that did C-Lab. And Archer eventually. But no, Ultimate Spider-Man does that where they really just use Photoshop backgrounds, and you can tell if you look at it because it looks like they just put in Photoshop and then added some filters.
I hate when they do
and I kind of got that. Yeah, I kind of got that feeling at certain points in this. And then at other times it was just kind of like colors or maybe like little designs behind people depending on what was going on in the scene.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the art that much. I think it's kind of average. The thing that saves it for me is the coloring. I think that... Because the issues have this weird progression where they start off kind of muted, kind of dull, and then they progressively get more and more bright as the story goes along, and then sometimes if a story ends on a darker note, then the next issue opens with a brighter color. And so it's got a very cinematic flow in that way, so if you read this whole thing at once, the colors really reflect the kind of mood the issue is giving off, and that's something artists tend to forget to do, where an entire book can look exactly the same way, even when it's not supposed to. But just as far as like the faces and the backgrounds and stuff, I don't know, it felt like really average. Like I didn't know I was... The thing with Tarantino films is that you're watching Tarantino from shot one. And this book doesn't really have that.
Yeah, it would have really helped to have someone with a very, very distinct style work on this. And
I mean, I still say you should have gotten Matt Wagner to draw the whole thing, because his style would have been perfect.
He did an alternate cover, and it does look pretty fucking amazing.
Speaking of stylistic artists, they have Jay Lee coming in and doing the covers. And you want to talk about missing backgrounds, Jay Lee.
No, that's definitely true.
Oh, which cover was it that Wagner did? I can't seem to find it. I think is it the 7th issue? Yeah, Wagner did the third cover, the third variant cover for the 7th issue, and you can kind of look at that and see what you could have gotten. And I think that would have fit a lot better,
and I mean,
too.
if you just want more evidence to that, go ahead and read some of his Grendel, and it's perfect.
Is this the one where Zorro's got like the sword up above his head? Oh, that's the best one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the best alternate cover, and like Django's glasses are like, perfectly glazed over, reflective kind of thing. I love it.
The whole series in general.
Well, and they're standing on a pile of soldiers.
Yep. So it is just damn perfect. Okay, since we're kind of talking about art and character design stuff, I understand that it's necessary, but I really don't like this Zorro mask. Because it is very necessary for the story, but I really don't like this mask.
I don't like it either. That distracted me from the very beginning. And it's like you said, it is necessary. It's just a matter of, like... it just doesn't feel true enough to that character. Maybe that's just me.
There are some versions that like have that kind of thing going for it, but it was really the, this is a character whose copyright has expired at this point, so we're just going to make something and call it Zorro, and he's vaguely going to be in all black and have a mask. So there's a couple things that do that kind of bandana look to it, but it's not a very it's not very traditional. I mean, Zorro. Like, all right, so I mentioned the 90s series earlier, or maybe that we probably weren't even recording yet, but I mentioned the 90s series, and funny story about that is I bought that entirely by accident. I'm glad I did, but what happened was I was looking for the 50s show on DVD, and you're not going to be able to find the 50s show on DVD unless you want to pay $300, but I thought I did, and that's just for one season, mind you, but I thought I did. And so, like, it's called Zorro. That's all the 50 show is called, is Zorro. And it's got Zorro on the cover of the picture of the DVD. I'm like, okay, and it's the right number of seasons it looked like at first. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll just buy this collection for $50. And then I get it, I'm like, oh wait, shit, this is the 90s show. And that's because Zorro as a character, his costume design really has not changed much in 100 years. Like, Everyone gets up in arms about Wonder Woman changing outfits or Superman losing his underoos. Look at Zorro. That dude has been consistent. Just from character design, there's no way to pick your Zorros because there are very subtle differences.
Well, it's weird because it's like Zorro's tied to a very specific historical period, whereas like all of the superhero characters keep kind of moving forward with time. It would be interesting, I was kind of thinking while reading this, what if Zorro had been played the same way? Like, how would they have reinvented him throughout the ages to kind of fit with whatever the prevailing way of telling stories was in comics? And just kind of like thinking, what the hell would Zorro be like today, like as a modern Zorro?
Trench coat.
I think he would look a little bit like Sandman from, again, Matt Wagner's run. I think he would have kind of like the suave look with a trench coat.
I cannot for the life of me imagine Zorro without that goddamn hat.
You can give him like a fedora.
No, it has to be that hat. It can't have anything else. It has to be that hat where it's like kind of just
like the character
not really.
He's not wearing the hat.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like, because otherwise his silhouette, it's all about the silhouette for me. You should be able to tell who a superhero is based on their silhouette, because we use them so often in comic books. And you can cheat a little bit by throwing something in that kind of gives it a bit more of a hint, but the silhouette should be enough. So Zorro, the hat should be enough, but you can cheat by throwing in a sword. Superman, you can cheat by having him, strike the fists on the hip pose. Or throw in like maybe some red to the cape or something. But you should be able to tell who a superhero is based on their silhouette. And for Zorro, the hat is necessary. Bill and I were talking about doing like a Legacy Zorro series, and he was like, a World War II era Zorro should probably have a helmet instead of a hat. And I'm just like, I don't know if I could be okay with that.
Well, I think Zorro would have to be based in Portland nowadays, because that's the only place you'd get away with a hat and a mustache like that.
I actually have that hat. I got it from work for my Zorro cosplay, and I fucking love that hat, man. It's just awesome.
Somebody needs to bring capes back though, so it might as well be Zorro.
Okay, you will not believe what I'm about to tell you. So Antonio Banderas is going to fashion school, I believe, in France.
Seriously?
Oh. Yes, and it gets better, Alex. And he wants to bring back capes. So, literally, who better to do it than Zorro?
That's awesome.
He wants to, like, you know, he obviously could have just easily started his own fashion line like all those celebrities do and shit. But no, he actually wants to do it.
Design fashion.
Yeah, he wants to do it right, and he wants to bring back capes, and so who better to do it than Zorro?
Behind this.
The best news I heard all day.
That is amazing.
The thing I want to mention, though, is I'm not sure if anyone keeps up with the Phantom. He's not, like, my kind of character, but I think it'd be interesting to see how he's updated constantly and then do that with Zorro, because they've got kind of the same thing going, and they came from the same tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, Steve and I were talking about it before the show, because now we're all just in a Zorro mood.
Yeah.
But they're working on, it seems like all of Fox's projects related to Zorro right now are working on a future Zorro, which I'm okay with because lightsaber ripoff. That's all you need. But there's like an idea for there's a trailer out there that's kind of hit and miss depending on how many times you watch it for what's called Zorro Reborn. That was going to be like a post-apocalyptic Zorro, but apparently that idea has been thrown out the window. And we're just going to be, like, the latest news is a movie called Z that is just future Zorro.
Written by the guy that wrote Gravity.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, I guess that could work for a sci-fi Zorro. He doesn't really care about rules of physics anyway, so...
So to hell with the rules of Spanish.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm maybe more optimistic about it than I should be, but I'm open to the idea of future Zorro. I actually really like the idea of Zorro becoming a legacy character, because as much as I love Diego de la Vega, it is a problem to just leave a character set in just one era and still try to tell new and inventive stories with him, because it's been 100 years. Most of the things that are going to be done with Zorro in that time period have been done.
And then, plus, part of what works about doing it in that same time period over and over again is that the political issues are still relevant. So if they're still relevant, why do you need to tie him to only one era?
That's a good...
Yeah. Like, the problem is you need Zorro to be a revolutionary figure, and he's around at the perfect time where you can have him, like, participate in the goddamn Mexican Revolution.
Right.
You know, that's Mexican Revolution, 1810 to 1820. That's the prime of Zorro's career if you have him born in 1790, which makes perfect sense. But you can't just leave him there to, like, retire or anything. And that's what I really like about this book is the very first line is some never stop feeling the call to adventure, something to that effect, no matter how old they get. I really love that that's where he takes his character, because you hear about this and you realize it's going to be an old Diego, and you go, oh, so it's probably going to be, this is his last time putting on the cape, but he hasn't done it in years kind of thing. This is just, this is just what he does, man. This is like the Batman that never quit. And I really love that about it. So it's really, really smart to do the character.
I'm really glad you decided to pick this ultimately, because I'm not the biggest Zorro fan. I like him a lot, but I don't like keep up with him the way you guys do. But Zorro is just, he's so much of what I think superhero stuff is missing these days. Like, Zorro is a big inspiration for Batman, and I think Batman ultimately did things that Zorro couldn't do, and I liked him more because of that. But Batman's has fallen so far that now I just want to go back to Zorro. Like, I feel like he's my character now because Batman can't be. And if we had a new Zorro movie, if we had a new Zorro TV show, a Zorro video game, whatever, and we finally, like, channeled the things that make that character work, it might finally kickstart some things in superheroes that hasn't worked in the last 5 years. Like, there's something really pure about that character that makes him very difficult to get wrong.
I think the thing that they need to do is, before somebody gets to write a Batman run, they, like Bruce Wayne, need to be forced to watch a Zorro movie.
Yes.
And say, this is the inspiration for the character.
Yes. Because there has to be some kind of poppy adventure to it. That's partly why I like the Batman as much as I do, is because that show understood that Batman has fun to a degree.
It's a fun swashbuckler kind of a thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be, like, suicidally depressed.
Yeah, I mean, he wears a bat costume. He's got to be theatrical to a degree.
Yeah.
Right?
He's not just gone.
And
exactly.
And importantly, one of the things that's very fundamental about Zorro, and I think it was Cap in his review of the Mask of Zorro film, he pointed this out and I think articulated it perfectly, is that, you know, you're not supposed to really want to be Batman. He is kind of dark and broody, and that's more of his character than it is of Zorro. But you're supposed to want to be Zorro. He's a symbol of revolution. Kids are supposed to see Zorro, you know, fighting soldiers and say, that looks like fun. I want to do that. He's supposed to inspire people to want to rise up in things. And so he has to look kind of cool doing it. And one of the things I love about Guy Williams' performance, it's a really subtle detail, but every single time that dude was in a sword fight in the Zorro costume and stuff, grin 10 miles wide on his face.
Yeah.
It was just such a perfect little detail that actor added to that performance. And so it's one of the things I really, really do love about the character is it is fun to be Zorro, and you should want to be Zorro. And, you know, I don't fully disagree with you guys, but I will push back a little bit. You're not really supposed to want to be Batman, but he can't be broody all the goddamn time.
Yeah, I mean, every story can't be about how Batman is a symbol for this and that, and this is depressing, and this doesn't work, and he creates more problems than himself. That's going to be there, and we can analyze it as much as you want, but to some degree, you have to understand that Batman is an adventure. Batman is a character that inspires people. Batman's a character that starts with escapism before it starts with solving the world's problems.
Yeah, and, like, importantly, even things that people talk about, like they're the darkest versions of Batman ever, even Dark Knight has some really good comedy.
Oh, yeah, totally. And Dark Knight also has Batman riding on a horse with a bunch of punked-out teenagers.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that one. I meant, like, the Nolan film.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, because there's that...
That too.
Both of them. No, there's that great little scene where he's gonna go and turn himself in, and Alfred goes, I suppose they'll arrest me as your accomplice. And he goes, you kidding me? I'm gonna tell them the whole thing was your idea. That's really good. Oh wait, that actually makes me think of one thing. I want to get back to Django a little bit because I feel like we've mostly talked about him, but one thing I want to make sure we mention is Bernardo. You know, we hear a lot of this stuff about we need more diverse characters, and not just skin color and religious-wise, but, you know, people who have disabilities. We need them in comic books. And I find it so interesting that one of the oldest superhero sidekick characters has a disability. And that is that Bernardo is mute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I always really liked that.
You know, before reading this, I had no idea who Bernardo was. And it took me a while, and I thought it's weird how the public, generally the pop culture's forgotten about Bernardo, and I think if we should bring him back. I think, you know, a Zorro revival is needed because it. I'm rambling on. I'm not sure what I'm saying, but I like Bernardo a lot. I really like his presence a lot.
Yeah, he's really fun. The actor that played him in the Disney show is way too white, but he had a lot of fun doing it. He's, like, you could tell that guy was a mime in a former life. Guy Williams used to joke with him that he should get paid for both their paychecks since he has to say both their lines. But yeah, like just the whole I don't know. I find Bernardo to be a really important character because everyone just assumes that because he can't talk that he's also deaf and that he's a moron. And he's like he's always the smartest guy in the room half the time. Half the time he's the one that you know, shows Diego up a little bit.
He's more useful
and
than half the Robins.
Right? And like everyone calls him, oh well, he's Diego's Alfred. I'm like, yes and no. He's a lot more than that. Because he isn't there for speeches, mostly because he can't give them.
That's true.
I don't know. It's like, could you imagine if, like, Bernardo was trying to mime a speech and Diego was trying to, like, you know, interpret it out of him or something? That'd be really ridiculous. But I don't know. I find Bernardo to be a really interesting character because he uses his disability as an advantage over people and how they treat him, and he's able to get that over on people. And I just find that really, really fascinating. And that character has existed since, you know, like, think about this. there's been a disabled character that's, a positive role model for disabled people, and he's been around since before film had sound in it. And that amazes me. Like, the first time we're ever introduced to Bernardo on film in the Douglas Fairbanks movie, it says, Bernardo who can hear but not talk. I'm like, oh, well, he's just a perfect character for a silent movie, isn't he?
And like most people don't know who Bernardo is, and that just comes with the territory of Zorro hasn't had anything out in a long time.
Well, and the last thing we had was the Antonio Banderas movies, and he's not in those from what I remember.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Anthony Hopkins, pretends to be Banderas' servant for a while, and he calls himself Bernardo as a reference.
Right.
And weirdly enough, in the '90s show, they keep the character who is a mute that pretends to be deaf and helps Zorro out, but they call him Felipe for some reason. I don't know why, but they do.
Yeah, that's a little bit
yeah, it'd be like if I just renamed Alfred, Jeeves.
That's a more appropriate butler name.
And didn't change anything fundamentally about the character. They made him younger. In this, they're the same age. In the '90s show, Felipe was kind of an adopted son kind of thing, but it's still the same. Character fulfills the exact same role.
Right.
So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff with Zorro that I find absolutely fascinating, and I could probably just talk about the character for hours on end.
Since chances are slim that I'll do another Zorro video with you guys, and I know Ian's definitely going to do more on his own, just out of curiosity, what would be your 5 things to pick up for someone who wanted to be a Zorro fan?
I'd definitely say watch some of the '50s show, but, keep in mind it was the '50s. Mask of Zorro, this, and Wagner's Run would be the stuff I'd recommend picking up.
I'm just going to go on Amazon and buy some of that. That's why.
I would definitely say Django Zorro. And then,
yeah, I mean, this is great.
That's all I've seen.
That's my extent of knowledge. So.
Yeah, and I'm reading through the Isabel Allende novel right now, and it's pretty good. I thought it was interesting to make Diego, what's the word? Fucking Spanish had, such a bureaucratic way of describing race. Mestizo, basically means mixed blood. She made him half native, half Spanish, which was really interesting. And that got carried over into Wagner's Run, too.
Nice.
Yeah, and you see it in the beginning where, since it's Bernardo narrating half the time, which only works in print, that's one thing that would not transfer well to film. You see Bernardo narrating, he calls him his milk brother, and they're born at the same time, and Diego's mother wasn't able to breastfeed him, so Bernardo's mother breastfed both of them, kind of thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of really interesting parallels between the two of them. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk more about Django's character in this, because we've kind of neglected him, and it's weird because everyone else kind of gravitates toward, the other reviews, as terrible as they were, kind of gravitated toward Django, and we've kind of gone off in the other direction.
Because I think Django is so much of the star in pop culture. Everyone knows Django, not a lot of people know about Zorro. So even if you go to this as a Django fan, you come out a Zorro guy. So
right?
it's just hard to go back to Django. No, Django's Django. He's cool. He's awesome. I love that movie a lot. But Zorro's the man.
Right? Zorro's a fucking... my biggest problem with this is that it ends with, and I never saw Diego de la Vega.
Yeah.
Fuck you!
I love that.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's totally a throwback, classic, kind of Pulp Fiction serial kind of a thing. Or this is a little one and done story, and I don't know, I can't really defend it outside of I recognize they're paying tribute to a convention and a trope, because since now everything's so franchise oriented that of course we're going to see more adventures. It's kind of nice. It adds us a specialty to this particular story.
You're right.
Maybe, I don't know.
I would agree with that, but at the same time, this was great and I want more. That's just kind of what it boils down to for me. But definitely, I'm glad we got this thing, which is, more or less as close to perfect as I could have ever hoped it to be.
Yeah. That's the one thing with the sun. That's the only major complaint I have about this. And the art's kind of just okay. The one plot thread with the sun is the only major complaint I have with this.
Yeah, so I guess I'm happy just getting this. And I agree that we do have this whole attitude of everything has to become a big franchise and be perpetuated to the point where, like, the majority of what's being produced is just crap. So
yeah,
it's probably good to cut it off here.
I mean, fair enough, but at the same time, I don't feel like you need to say that was I never saw him again. I feel like you could have said something else without necessitating that, it would happen again. I don't feel like it needed to be that final.
I agree too. I understand, because I would like to see another adventure for sure.
Yeah, I mean, close the door, don't slam it shut.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because Django's kind of out in the West anyway. He mentions that he can't really go back east because people are still looking for him for what happened in his movie. So, there's... And Diego's just roaming around fighting for what's right. So it makes sense that they'd kind of cross paths again, and it's a little awkward that they don't. That they kind of just ended that.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, Tarantino, like, in the tradition of the kind of pulp hero that he was trying to make with Django, said that he was really interested and he got a lot of, he talked with people about making a series of, like, Django pulp books, but he just couldn't let go of the character, like, hand it off to someone else without him being able to go in and help with it, and he couldn't commit to doing that on a regular basis, so... that's why we got this, is he wanted to kind of continue the legacy of Django as a pulp hero. And so I guess maybe that's why it ends with such finality.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing because, one, I'd like both of those things. I would really like both of those things. But now this does leave open a really awesome possibility, which Django and the movie now exist in the Dynamite comic book universe. And as we should know, and as I don't think enough people pay attention to this, all of Tarantino's movies, with the exception of Kill Bill and Death Proof, take place in one universe, and even then those two films are films within that universe. So stick with me here.
Quentin Tarantino and Dynamite are one universe.
Right? Exactly. So we could get, like, Django and the Lone Ranger or Tonto, or we could get, I don't know, what else would work there? Green Hornet, and I found out that the Green Hornet is apparently, like, the great-great-grandson of the Lone Ranger.
What?
I don't read Green Hornet, so...
Neither do I. Just someone told me that, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well, that's the same universe as Good, the Bad, and the Ugly too, because they made those comics.
So anyway, you could do some stuff like what is it?
The Man with No Name.
And then in the future, a little bit, you have Sherlock Holmes in that universe, and then much later, you have Buck Rogers in that universe. Oh
there
shit!
We go.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Tarantino characters can now go play around in the Dynamite universe. I would love for him to, like, if he finishes his next two films and decides that's going to be it, I would kill to have Tarantino just do, like, mini-series. That would be awesome, and just play around in the Dynamite universe, put his own characters in with theirs. That'd be so much fun.
It's like this great pulp League of Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, back to just this book and Django. Steve, you kind of cut out when I was talking about Diego kind of replacing Schultz. Did you have anything you wanted to add with that? I know we're kind of backtracking a little bit.
No, I think I'm good. Nothing good.
Okay. No, just Diego's not Diego. See, that's the problem with two characters that have D in
One
the
is
name.
silent.
Yeah. Django has, like, I just really like his character. Like, I talked about this, how he goes from being kind of like a, not to make this sound negative, but a selfish hero to a selfless hero. I really, really like that aspect of it. But also really just like some of the subtleties of I'm not sure how to put this. The subtleties of him just kind of hanging out, because we don't get a lot of that in the movie, because it's a movie and you can't really just have characters chill.
You get a little bit of that, but not a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was hanging upside down. That's kind of hanging out. And he was literally hanging out, if you know what I mean.
Go to the corner.
I'm already in the corner.
No, I like just how he's kind of chilling, you know, when everyone's eating, you can just kind of see Django in the background, and he's like, you know, cleaning his gun, or he's sitting there talking with Bernardo about how, like, he's just kind of thinking out loud about Diego and kind of using Bernardo as a soundboard.
Right.
So I kind of like the way God damn it, I kind of like the way Django thinks, and just getting to get more into his head and stuff, is particularly with the internal monologues and getting to find out how he's kind of feeling about all these things.
He's more tactical than I ever thought he would be.
Certainly.
Because the way that movie functions, it feels a lot more like apathy, but here you see it's more calculation.
Mm-hmm. Now, Alex, you mentioned you weren't really that big into Django, like you enjoyed it but didn't really care much beyond that. Did this make you into, I guess, more of a fan of the character, or?
I mean, I would say so. But I mean, granted, part of that's because it changes the character. I mean, I don't hate Django as a character or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, I felt like the movie was far longer than it needed to be.
That's fair.
Especially given the ending and the fact that there's basically no denouement at all to that story. It's just it goes on, and then they blow up the house, and then it's pretty much over. So it's more technical issues, I guess, with the film than, you know, anything regarding the character or the story necessarily.
Now, when you say they change the character, do you mean like?
Well, I just mean he's become more like Zorro at the end.
Okay, so it's more of an arc than like, because no, it's just when you said that I thought you meant like they made a new character kind of thing, and I was going to disagree with that. But no, he goes through an arc and changes for the better by the end of it, but he definitely starts as the same character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
And that's what I really like about it, it is continuing that journey, and I find that really, really fascinating about him.
It really does feel like a genuine sequel in that respect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Connor, any thoughts on Django you wanted to get out?
Not really. You guys kind of touch on him. I like this progression of his character. I like him traveling more westward. I like him interacting with this side of the world, or side of the country.
Yeah, because they kind of like... I remember people joking about that movie, and it's like someone said it's not really a Western, it's a Southern. And so this is, you know, a proper Western with Django now, where it's all in the West.
Well, that was how Tarantino pitched it, wasn't it?
I think so.
I don't know if it was Tarantino. I remember hearing someone say that at one point.
Oh, I thought he pitched it as like a Southern way back when. Because I remember hearing about the film, God, like at least half a decade before it came out. It's something he'd been working on for a long time, so...
What year was Django?
2012.
13.
12? Okay.
Oh, 12? I thought it was 13.
Yeah, I remember I saw that the year before I saw Wolf of Wall Street, and I know Wolf of Wall Street for a fact, in 2013.
Okay.
Oh, that was the same year as Skyfall and Dark Knight. That's interesting, okay.
Yeah.
No, I really like Django's character arc in this, and so I wanted to take some more time to talk about it. I was a little disappointed his wife wasn't around, but they do give a good reason for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, I just really like how his relationship works with her, and I thought that would have been interesting to parallel with, Bernardo and Diego's relationship.
Yeah, when you spend a whole movie kind of trying to get them back together again, and then you don't really show us like what they're like when they're together, then I'm far less invested.
Certainly, but it's also kind of like the whole fairy tale aspect of what Django Unchained was.
Yeah.
Because like she is the damsel in distress, save the princess kind of thing. And what do you like when you have kind of a sequel to a fairy tale? It very rarely has the damsel in distress that was saved last time in it. It's the hero going off on another adventure to go slay a monster or whatever.
It's happily ever after, but...
Yeah, but he apparently just needs to get the fuck out of the house and go risk his life for some reason. I did like that they put Broomhilda like as a member of the Underground Railroad. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice little a lot of subtle details about this. Oh, the other thing I really liked, the Le Fontaine or whatever, the mining company is in this. I thought that was a really, really clever bit of continuity too. For those that don't know, like, so there's Sam Jackson has that fucking terrifying speech about how he subtly convinces the everyone what to do with Django, and that's to sell him back into slavery as in like the worst possible way a slave could live, in an industrial slave complex, and work for the La Fontaine mining company, and so to have the basically owner or whatever be one of the investors in this, I thought was really cool. Just all the little subtle things I really like about this. Panache gets mentioned, and that was in Django as well. So a lot of really subtle nods that make it feel like both a sequel to Matt Wagner's Zorro Run and a sequel to Django Unchained in the best possible way.
Yeah. Well, that's great because that's what this was supposed to be.
Exactly.
I hate that we have to compliment things for doing what they set out to do. But,
well, so many things fail, so...
I mean, especially when you have premises as good as these.
Right?
Like, it's just sometimes just marvelous to believe that, to understand that they're coherent at all.
Yeah, it's like, not only do they have a great concept, it's like, holy shit, they actually pulled it off.
Yeah, like, it's a little surprising. It's partly why I think I want to go out and buy this in trade and just read it every now and then. Like, it's kind of a shocking... Because, I mean, there's so many ways you could do this right, and there's so many ways you could do this wrong, and somehow they found the best possible way of doing it.
Yeah, and, like, I'm really glad that Tarantino is involved, because otherwise it could have gone so badly. Because you can really feel his influence throughout this, and particular when they do adapt things from the script. Because, like, you think you could almost feel that, where, like, you think you could almost feel the studio just handing some comic book writer the script and like, oh, here are these deleted scenes, see if you can throw a couple of those in there so it feels authentic. And they do that in here where they throw in, like, basically a deleted scene from the fucking movie, but it just works so damn well. It was so cool to see Schultz again. I loved that character. Anyway... what else is there to talk about with Django and Tarantino's influence? I know there was something else I wanted to mention, but
Can I talk about the dialogue for a second?
Go for
dialogue, Tarantino dialogue in particular, it's written for the screen. When you read his dialogue on paper, it seems very awkward. So when I was reading Matt Wagner doing a bit of a riff on Tarantino, at first, it kind of felt like that awkwardness of reading Tarantino on the page. But the more I got into it, the more natural it began to feel, but without actually changing. And I think that's a compliment to the way they created a world that this dialogue does feel natural.
And I think a lot of that has to do with just the pacing, and as much as we were complaining about the art being kind of blasé, the framing and panel structure really adds to the pacing, I feel. Because I did not have that at any point where I felt like I didn't know who to read first. Yeah. Just everything flowed really, really nicely, which, is something people don't get enough credit for.
I mean, it's one of those things you don't notice when it's done well. but you notice it
exactly
explicitly when it's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that there's a lot that all comes together, and I guess I'll trade kind of just a okay art style for really good pacing, because I feel like, you know, as beautiful as Tarantino shoots his movies, everything that's great about Tarantino is in how he paces them, and so I'll take that any day over amazing art.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a different kind of challenge to pace a movie versus pacing a comic.
And it works out so well here. I'm a little, like, I went through it and I read this in my singles as opposed to with the scans for you guys, but since you guys didn't get interrupted by the ads, how did you feel with some of the page turn moments? Because this has, I feel, quite a few of them where the page turn is used in kind of that cinematic way of like a dramatic cut kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it is a very escapist pulp thrill. Like, I mean, I remember I got to, like, I think it's the 3rd or 4th issue, and I was like, that's the end? Oh my god, I'm glad I don't have to wait a month for it.
Yeah. Like, I read this whole thing in, like, just about an hour, because it was really exciting. Sometimes I wouldn't even stop to appreciate some of the art, because I just wanted to keep rushing through.
Great contrast to my reading experience. I am such a slow comic book reader. Like, it takes me 30 minutes minimum to read 22 pages. And
really? Wow.
So, do
you just, like, stare at each panel for a long time or something?
I do. I really like to soak in. I like to hear the voices in my head of what these characters might sound like. I really kind of take in, like, look in the background, look at the landscape, I look at the way the characters are framed in the panels. I look at the panel structure. Like, I really like to take in the art and listen to the words in my head in a very specific way, because I'm in control of the pacing, and I don't know, ever since I've taken, like, comic writing classes, I have a whole new appreciation for what it's like to make comics. So maybe I'm in my head sort of deconstructing them as I'm reading them. So it took me forever to read this. I'm like, 7 issues in a single day? Oh my god!
You little punk.
I think that's interesting, because, like, you went into this with that very clear intent of deconstructing, but when I sat down and read this, like, I just got, like, 7 books in my library, and I've just been reading all day, every day, so I went into this very much with, I need something to read to relax from reading. So, like, I didn't try thinking about it, I just kind of did it naturally.
Yeah. I don't know, like, back to the pacing point, though, because there's that great page turn that I mentioned earlier where they're talking about what difference can one man make, and then you see the panel where the whip is grabbing the dynamite, and you turn the page and it's just, you know, explosion, tornadoes, you know, 2 feet up in the air kind of thing. I fucking loves that shit. Just, you know, comic books don't utilize that nearly as much as they should, where, you know, you get the surprise of a page turn, because that's, like, the biggest problem with reading comic books is people don't space out their panels very well, so you'll, like, if your eye just happens to glance over, you know what's coming, and that is often a major problem, and this thing, it had it on the issue where Bernardo gets shot. But otherwise, they did a really good job of that.
I mean, that's just tough in general, because you have to plan for when ads would be placed, which you wouldn't necessarily know, but then you have to think ahead to how that would read in trade, and sometimes trades have, like, just the black page they put before something big happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, like, no, I'm talking about the last page in which Bernardo was shot, because it's just 2 panels, and he's just talking in one, and then the next panel he's clearly firing his gun. So, you know, you turn that page, you know Bernardo and him are the only ones in the room, and so you see the gunshot before you finish reading his speech.
Right.
So it's just one of those things where it's kind of disappointing. I was a little heartbroken to see Bernardo die. I was like, holy shit,
yeah.
You can't kill Bernardo. That's not cool, man.
I think that's the one plus I would give digital over just having physical, is that they isolate the panels so you never have that problem.
Which is funny, because this is my first experience with digital comics.
Oh no, this isn't a digital comic.
No.
This is
with earlier when I was reading it, I had those scans.
Yeah. This is piracy. This is not digital.
Yeah, like when you go to the Comixology or Marvel comic readers, then they've got different functionalities, and you can just like have individual panels or like 2 pages at a time, like you're reading an actual book.
Oh, that's awesome! I should.
Yeah, so it's got like a cinematic quality to it, so you can only read one panel at a time, and honestly, that is a lot better way to read comic books.
It works fantastic. I mean, obviously, you use some of the artistic integrity of just like having the panel within its context, but also not getting those next panel spoilers is very helpful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because very few artists do like off the panel across the page work. Now, maybe something will go kind of out of the panel, but they rarely do things where it connects across like that.
And then you have people like Bendis who just have those you read across all the time. And he actually does that for the sole purpose of controlling ad placement.
Oh, does he?
He spoke in one of my classes, and somebody actually asked him that, and he said he's always thought about ad placements, and that's why he does all that.
That explains.
Clever.
I think it was a Marvel comic. I talked about this, and I swear I ranted for like 2 minutes because I was so pissed off. There was a Marvel comic that I was reading, and it was a 2-page spread where you're supposed to like read, left to right, not left, right, down, left, right, down kind of thing. Just full left to right and down. And like there was an ad in the middle of a 2-page spread. So it totally, I was so mad.
Was this a DC book?
I think it was a Marvel book, but it was a couple months ago. I don't remember it, but I was legitimately pissed off by that, like so fucking pissed because it was so goddamn confusing. I hate when that shit happens. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, but all right. I think I am all out of points. Does anyone have anything else they wanted to bring up, or are we good to kind of close out here?
There's a lot of missing teeth.
Yeah, it was the Old West, man. That happens.
So that's all I got.
Steve, are you going to give us something brilliant to end on?
Zorro's a badass.
Genius!
The Z is not
okay. Z is not. Oh, I like that where Django crows the J in the guy's face because D is silent.
That was fantastic.
That's his catchphrase. The D is silent. Okay. Anyway. So, what are we going to talk about next week, then, is I guess the question.
Topic, right?
Yeah, because Steve and I have, like, picked the last couple things here.
Back and forth.
So, Alex, what are you doing on Friday?
I guess Geeky Gentleman, if you want me.
You got a topic you can think of off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, no. Although, it could be cool to do something on existentialism.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That could be fun.
Just vaguely something on existentialism. I'm down.
Yeah.
That would be it, right? Well, it's the ethics of ambiguity, right?
That's great. I just got a book on Sartre's ethics of authenticity, so that'll be fun.
There we go.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah, that'll work. Geeky Gentleman on existentialism. We might narrow that down just a little bit, but we'll see what happens.
It's very likely to just be.
Anyway, everyone, thank you very much for listening. Until next... Oh, wait, shit, we didn't do a rating. Okay, fuck. Alright. Okay, the only thing I'm taking points off for is the dropped thread of the kind of like serial killery child. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 Anvil Charlies.
I really like this a lot. Listening to you guys talk about it, this really made me appreciate it more. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 missing teeth. See how I cheated that? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Steve,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
give it 4.5 out of 5 Dark Knight poses with a horse.
And Alex.
I'm honestly going to give it 5 out of 5. We call it a Z in Canada, scars.
But you can't have a Z that stands for Zorro? That sounds stupid.
Z for Zorro. That's fantastic.
Well, that's the old Disney song. It's like a Z that stands for Zorro. You can't a Z that stands for Zorro. It doesn't work.
That's how my parents say it. So every time I show them like a mark of Zorro, they're like, it's Z for Zorro. I'm like, no, stop it. That's not how that works.
Fucking foreigners using the languages.
It's you guys who changed English. So.
That's true. There's English,
it's
and then
also
there's less intelligent English.
It's also us that created 90% of the media that gets broadcast around the world, so I think we get to decide the language course at this point.
The stronger, that's never a bad thing.
Right?
It's not like Plato wrote an entire book about it.
Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Anyway, everyone, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, I'm the philosopher.
I'm the politician.
I'm the enthusiast.
And I'm the sexually scarred guest.
Yay, he remembered. Anyway, everyone, thank you very much. Until next time, we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things. I totally forgot what I was going to fucking say. I forgot my outro. I feel really dumb.